my God, we're still going!
Yes, we have another bid.
We now have 30 minutes left again. Go ahead, Mr.
$16,492,000.
That's crazy!
Logan Paul's Pokemon saga just flipped into something wild, and the details are messy. In this video, we're breaking down his straight-up lies, the shady way he sold his Pikachu, and the drama nobody saw coming. This isn't some small mistake either. It's big, bold, and hard to ignore. You seriously don't want to miss this. On this channel, we've gone deep on Logan Paul, Liquid Marketplace, and that PSA 10 Illustrator PG card he pushed for a jaw-dropping $16.4 million. We broke down the hype, the headlines, and the wild claims around that deal because this wasn't just a simple sale. It was a massive move that had everyone talking. Logan Paul has been out here acting like that card has zero drama attached to it, like it's all clean and fully his with no questions asked. He keeps moving like the sale was flawless. No issues, no doubts, nothing to see here. That is absolutely not the case. He did respond, and we're getting into that, because this whole situation turned into a straight-up circus. Just look at Logan Paul running around, high-fiving people like nothing's wrong.
Bro, yes. My God! Oh my God! Go! Yes, bro! Let's go, baby! Yes! Dang! Oh my God! Oh, 15 million! No, that's...
He even had the Guinness Book of Records right there, hyping it up and making it look bigger than ever, like this was some flawless, historic moment with zero questions attached.
So, Logan Paul,
Logan, you get it.
Ken Golden,
Yes.
tonight you sold the PSA 10 Pikachu Illustrator card for $16,492,000. On behalf of Guinness World Records, I can now confirm you have achieved a new record title for not only for the most expensive Pokemon card ever sold at auction, but also the overall record for the most expensive trading card ever sold at auction.
Oh my God, bro!
Congratulations! You are officially amazing.
Oh my God, no way! Yes! Oh my God!
This is next level bad, especially once you understand what really went down behind the scenes with that card. It's honestly disturbing. Everything started unfolding, the whole situation turned into the biggest joke of his entire stream. Right in the middle of all that chaos, Logan suddenly announces a brand new business he's co-founding called 𝗟ន់, like nothing shady is hanging in the air. The timing felt wild, almost like a distraction move. Just watch the clip of Logan pitching this because the energy says a lot.
What is up, collector? 𝗟ន់is coming soon, and you're gonna want to be first in line. So we're growing our wait list for users to get early access and to give back to the day one collectors who help us grow this thing. Top referrers will climb the leaderboard to get rewarded with things like the holographic pull from this first edition heavy pack, a $30,000 base set unlimited box, and a PSA 9 first edition Lugia valued at roughly $7,000. Additionally, for every milestone of users that we hit, we'll do giveaways with the entire community with things like this crystallized Daniel 𝗟ន់Squirtle figure, multiple sets of base set packs, a first edition heavy pack, other great cards like Arcanine, Snorlax. You get the point. Awesome stuff, guys. My team and I are grinding 24/7 to bring this platform to life. So please tell your friends and get ready to rip it.
Oh yes, another business Logan Paul just so happens to co-found. Because that's exactly what this needed, right? When you watch that video we just saw, what does it remind you of? Be real. The vibe feels way too familiar.
What's up, y'all? Logan here. As an avid collector and strategic investor myself, I am so stoked to announce the launch of Liquid Marketplace.
Oh yeah, Liquid Marketplace. The same platform where Logan Paul told everyone they could buy fractionalized shares of his collectibles. He made it sound secure, like those items would never be moved or sold unless the shareholders agreed. That was the whole pitch, right? Regular fans getting a piece of something big, feeling like real co-owners in the game. But here's the twist that hits hard. The exact card he later auctioned off was the same card he had already listed on Liquid Marketplace and sold shares of to his fans. He took it back and moved it anyway. That means they did not actually own anything. The so-called ownership was sold as real, but it did not hold up. Remember how heavy he pushed the idea that you could co-own his card? That promise looks real shaky now. And now he's out here selling it for $16.5 million.
But yes, I will be listing this card on a platform that I co-founded called Liquid Marketplace.
Liquid Marketplace. The one and only PSA 10 Pikachu Illustrator now available on Liquid Marketplace.
all for himself. Anyone who bought into Liquid Marketplace or grabbed shares in that Pikachu basically got pushed to the side while he walked away with the spotlight. Right after the auction wraps up, that's when Logan Paul decides, I'm gonna address this. The timing says a lot. He comes out saying, "What an epic night. I'm truly grateful for the Pokemon community, Ken Golden, and my team for making last night historic moment for the hobby to address concerns regarding the ownership history of the card. Now, for the facts." Then he explains that he originally offered up to 51% of the Illustrator on Liquid Marketplace, but only 5.4% actually sold for about $270,000 in summer 2022 to fractional owners connected to the platform. He also says that in May 2024, he bought the card back for the same price. According to him, it was done under the platform's terms, and the funds were placed into user accounts for withdrawal. He adds that those funds were available for around a year, and many of the fractional owners did withdraw their money during that time. That's his version of events, laid out clean and confident. But the bigger question is whether that explanation really matches how everything felt to the people who bought in. Then he adds, "For reasons outside my control, the Liquid Marketplace site went offline when I learned users could no longer withdraw their funds on Liquid Marketplaces. I personally paid to get the site back up. Users are now able to withdraw their funds, and they have been at Liquid Marketplace DOIO. They're also notified via email, so he's saying the shutdown wasn't on him, and that he stepped in with his own money to fix it once withdrawals stopped working." That's the claim. He follows that up with, "Congrats to the buyer for an iconic purchase of the entire world. Remember, although bittersweet, I was proud to be a steward of the greatest collectible in the world for the last 5 years. May the next Pokemon journey be as delightful as the last." It sounds polished and emotional, like a farewell speech for a legendary item. But here's where it gets interesting. Logan now says only 5.4% of the PSA 10 Illustrator was ever sold. That's wild, because the business he co-founded heavily promoted the idea that the card sold out. Their own Instagram celebrated it like history was made when Logan Paul brought the Guinness World Record PSA 10 Illustrator to Liquid Marketplace, giving the community the unparalleled opportunity to co-own one of the most desirable Pokemon items alongside him. So which is it? 5.4% quietly sold, or a full-on sellout moment blasted across social media? That contrast raises some serious eyebrows. They literally posted, "Now the holy grail of Pokemon cards has sold out and is available for trading on the marketplace. The Liquid Marketplace community now controls the future of the card and will take part in all decisions made as to whether it'll be taken out of the collector's vault for events ought to be auctioned off."
What's up, y'all? So you may have seen me introduce myself as a co-founder of Liquid Marketplace, but obviously it's not just me, so I'd love to take this opportunity to introduce you to the other founders and industry experts that are a part of this growing innovative platform, because after all, I think our team is what solidifies us as one of the most dominant fractionalization co-ownership platforms.
That wasn't subtle. That was loud and clear. Sold out, community control, shared decisions, the whole pitch. So were you and your company just straight up misleading people into believing this card was completely gone? The message was, everyone, the card is gone. It's in crazy demand. You're part of something historic. Now you're saying only 5.4% was actually sold for $270,000 in summer 2022. That's a massive difference from the hype that was pushed everywhere. Then it gets even more confusing. You say in 2024, you bought that 5.4% back for the same $270,000, the exact same price, 2 years later. Even if that's accurate, it still raises serious questions. First, why promote it like a full sellout moment if the percentage was that small? Second, if only 5.4% was involved, why not let those investors keep their stake instead of buying it back under terms your own company set up? And here's the big one. Did that card really not increase in value over those 2 years? This is supposed to be one of the most famous Pokemon cards on the planet. Did it just sit there flat? Did the people who invested see zero return while the headline sale jumped to $16.5 million? That gap doesn't look small, it looks huge. So they just get their money back? That's it? You told them they were co-owning an investment, something with real upside, and then you turn around and sell it for $16 million. If they truly had ownership, that increase should have meant something for them too. They took a risk putting their cash in. That wasn't charity. That was an investment move. Instead, it starts to look more like they handed over $270,000, waited 2 years, and just got the same $270,000 back. No growth, no share of the upside, nothing extra. Meanwhile, you walk away with the card and flip it for a massive payday, fully aware the value climbed hard during that time. That gap is not small and people can see it. And what stands out even more is how Logan avoids directly addressing whether Liquid Marketplace itself was misrepresented. He doesn't really sit with that part. In his Rip It video, he shifts the focus, talking about, "Me and my team are going to deliver this platform like it's a fresh start." But for a lot of people watching, the past situation is still hanging in the air. Liquid Marketplace is currently under investigation for fraud. Yes, that same company Logan Paul is publicly listed with as a co-founder, part of the original team behind it. That company is now facing serious regulatory heat. To be clear, Logan Paul is not personally named in the filing. That matters. But this is still a company he helped launch, a team he stood beside, and a platform he promoted hard to his audience. This wasn't some random brand using his name, he was connected to it from the start. According to regulatory filings, a crypto firm co-founded by YouTuber Logan Paul that promoted tokens allegedly backed by rare Pokémon cards and other assets is accused of defrauding investors. The Ontario Securities Commission has filed enforcement proceedings against the Toronto-based Liquid Marketplace and its principals.
I never sold a fucking token. I never made $1 from this project.
The allegations claim the company violated securities laws by illegally distributing securities, engaging in unregistered trading, and operating an unregistered exchange. The filings describe it as part of a broader, multi-layered issue within the crypto asset sector. Regulators also state that the firm raised more than $10 million from investors to fund the company. That is not a small number. When that much money is involved and regulators step in, people are going to start asking serious questions about how everything was structured and promoted. Regulators also allege that around $3 million of the funds raised was misappropriated. According to the filings, money was allegedly funneled through shell companies to the firm's founders, and loans were issued to 2 of them that were not repaid. Those loans were reportedly used for personal expenses, including nearly $500,000 spent on high-end fashion, expensive jewelry and watches, personal health treatments, and luxury spa services. That is not a small side expense. That's serious cash. The 𝗟ci further alleges that the company sold about $2.7 million worth of tokens that qualified as securities or derivatives, but did so without meeting required prospectus and registration rules. On top of that, the firm allegedly traded those tokens without being properly registered as an exchange or dealer. That's a major compliance issue if proven true. Regulators also claim investors were misled about what those tokens actually represented. According to the allegations, the tokens did not grant legal ownership of the underlying collectibles. The so-called ownership stakes were not recorded on a blockchain, and the assets tied to them were allegedly not authenticated, appraised, or insured. If accurate, that creates serious undisclosed risk for buyers. The filings argue that these alleged misrepresentations exposed investors to losses while benefiting Liquid Marketplace and its associates. Those are heavy accusations, and they paint a picture that is far from the polished image that was originally promoted. The 𝗟ci also stated in its regulatory filing that the founders allegedly misled investigators during the probe. According to the regulator, they are accused of hiding the true nature and total amount of money that had allegedly been misappropriated for personal enrichment. That is a serious accusation. If a team is not fully transparent during an investigation, that raises even more concern. It also stands out that the filings mention $2.7 million in token sales. Now think about this carefully. The Pikachu illustrator was promoted like it was a massive sellout moment, and based on past valuations, that asset alone was said to be worth around $2.5 million at one point. At the same time, Logan Paul recently claimed the platform was not that popular and that demand was not as strong as people assume. That feels inconsistent. If the flagship asset supposedly did not attract major participation, then where exactly did the $2.7 million in token sales come from? That number has to connect to something. If investors were not heavily buying into the headline collectible, then what were they buying instead? No one can jump to conclusions without full evidence. But when public statements and regulatory filings do not line up cleanly, it naturally leads to doubt. The filing clearly references over $2.7 million in token sales, and that figure is not small. When numbers like that are involved, people are going to ask tough questions. That PSA 10 illustrator alone would likely account for a huge chunk of that total, and let's be real, it was probably the most attractive asset on the entire platform. Out of everything they offered, that was the crown jewel people would naturally gravitate toward. So if only 5% was actually sold like Logan Paul now claims, then there needs to be clear proof showing exactly how that breaks down. Transparency would clear a lot up. And even if it truly was just 5%, that still leaves the bigger issue. The platform was promoted as real co-ownership. The messaging was strong. You're going to own a piece of this card with me. You're going to share in the journey. You're part of something exclusive. That was the vibe pushed over and over. But from what regulators allege, those tokens did not represent actual legal ownership. That gap is serious. Now he's rolling out a new venture, 𝗟cie𝗴𝘀𝘀, where you rip packs that represent real physical graded cards, sell them instantly for cash, or store them in their vault. That concept sounds familiar because Liquid Marketplace also talked about secure storage and vault systems. When a new project mirrors the structure of a past one that's now under investigation, people are naturally going to look at it twice and ask hard questions. You never once addressed the fact that a company you co-founded is under investigation for fraud. Not a real breakdown, not a serious sit-down explanation, nothing. That silence is loud. First, there was 𝗟់𝗃, and everyone remembers how that situation played out. Then Liquid Marketplace ends up facing regulatory action. Now there's a brand new venture called 𝗟it, and the pitch is that people should trust it. From the outside, it looks like selling high-priced cards and packs for people to open, flip, or store in a vault system that sounds very familiar. After everything that has happened, it's understandable why people are skeptical. On Twitter, the backlash has been heavy. A lot of criticism, a lot of tough questions, and yes, a lot of people saying they've been blocked. It feels like a non-stop blocking streak. One tweet that gained attention summed up a major concern. It argued that Liquid Marketplace allowed percentage ownership of assets, but under the terms and conditions, if the asset increased in value, it could be bought back at the original price without investor consent. Meanwhile, if the asset decreased in value, there was no guaranteed buyback. If that interpretation of the structure is accurate, it would mean investors had no real upside. Any major gain could be captured by the original owner, while risk stayed with the buyers. The comparison made in that tweet was blunt. It was like creating a company to borrow against your own assets at zero interest, with supporters effectively acting as the bank. That framing is harsh, but it explains why so many people are questioning the fairness of how everything was designed. Here's the part that really makes people stop and think. By his own admission, he only sold 5.4% out of the 51% he originally planned to offer. So even if he had decided to let those holders fully share in the upside of the $16.5 million sale, the estimated amount needed to make them whole on that gain would have been around $621,000. Out of $16.5 million, that's a relatively small slice to settle things fairly. That's why critics keep bringing this up. They argue that even if everything was technically structured within the terms, there was still a chance to go above the minimum and make it right in a bigger way. Instead, the pattern some people point to goes back to previous controversies, including 𝗟់𝗃, where many supporters felt they were left fighting to recover losses. That history adds weight to current frustration. If only about 5% was actually sold, as he claims, then covering the upside for those investors would not have erased the entire profit. It would have been a fraction of it. Some believe that would have sent a strong message, especially with Liquid Marketplace under investigation, that he was willing to step up beyond strict legal wording and take care of the people who trusted the platform. Imagine saying clearly, the platform ran into serious issues, but the identifiable holders are going to be compensated fairly from this major sale. That kind of move could have shifted the entire narrative overnight. Instead, the debate keeps growing, and so do the questions about whether the minimum standard was chosen over the maximum accountability. But critics say Logan Paul never takes that extra step, and now with this new business, 𝗟it, some people are warning others to be careful before jumping in. From their point of view, every big venture he's publicly hyped starts the same way. Huge excitement, big promises, big opportunity. With 𝗟់𝗃, the message was that you could make money playing the game. With Liquid Marketplace, the pitch was that you could co-own rare assets with him and share in the upside. The energy was always about building something together and winning together. But the frustration comes from the belief that those outcomes did not match the early promises. A lot of supporters feel that the results fell short of what was originally advertised. That gap between the hype at launch and the reality later on is why trust has taken such a hit. And now, with 𝗟it entering the scene, many are questioning whether this time will truly be different.